Hey, what's good? Janell Nelson is an artist, director, creative strategist, and community organizer born and raised in Chicago. She went on to work with 9 of her most creative friends to start the Englewood Arts Collective, a group that uses art and community engagement as a tool to reclaim spaces and change the narrative. This is my conversation with the director of Englewood Arts Collective, Janell Nelson. Before we get into it, remember to go to coconutjustice.com to get you some clothes that I think would look good on you. Let's go. Well, you know when Chicago comes out and they start doing things the way I know Chicago likes to do their things. You can't shut me up. That's why I've brought on Janell Nelson, you guys. Janell Nelson, the director of the Englewood Arts Collective. You know what? They made some upgrades. Hang on. Let me see if I can find a little something here. Yeah. I told you that budget be growing.
Look at technology. Look at technology.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Carlos, for inviting me and having me here.
Yeah, I was telling you right before we hit record, you guys, I was telling Janell that I've been, ever since talking to Pugs and ever since getting tapped into what the Englewood Art Collective has been doing, it's like watching a really good sitcom. Not that it's comedy, but it's like I like waiting for the next episode of what you guys are doing, so then I can turn around and start bragging.
Well, life is like a comedy sometimes, so that's okay. Sometimes it's like comedy.
Life is a comedy.
Thank
Life is a comedy. Folks need to understand that. Like, this is my view of life is we're a bunch of angels up in heaven somewhere.
Okay.
And then we all decide to put a quarter into the slot, and then we just come down and just while out for a little bit, and then we go back to heaven.
Yeah.
Right?
Our souls doing what they need to do at this time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You got to work. We got to work. And especially those of us that come from the inner city, we picked the hard one. We picked the hard level.
I mean, there's also the you reminded me of the whole like idea of like tangential reincarnation. Like your soul is here to learn a lesson or to practice something, and you might come back to do it again until you get it right.
Yeah.
Be your best self.
And dare I say, even if you get it right, sometimes you're like, whoa, even though I got it right, that was fun.
Let's do it again.
Let's do it again. Let's run it back.
And here we are.
Here we are. Yeah. So I love what the collective is doing. So it's you, Janell.
Yes.
And you were saying that there's like 10 others?
Yeah. So EAC, Englewood Arts Collective, we are a core group that started with 10 original co-founders, or there's currently 10 original co-founders that are still active, that act as the base. And I was just saying to you earlier, we have over 300 affiliate artists. And that's the umbrella term that I love to say because it's really the way we acknowledge the vast, deep, wide breadth of really dope homies and also people that we're fans of. Largely Black and brown, largely South Side, West Side artists rooted in or connected to Chicago. Not a membership-based group. We're literally a collective. We are officially now a nonprofit. So, donations are tax deductible.
Yes, ma'am. 501c3.
Yes. But you know what? That was not our original goal. Like, I have to tell people, I love grounding folks in the origin because we started in 2017 with no language around the nonprofit industrial complex and organize. Like, we just wanted to form And it happened very organically. Of the 10 co-founders, there's me, Tonika Lewis Johnson. Tonika actually kicked it off in 2017 by way of like text message and email, and probably also a Facebook query, like, what other artists are from Englewood? Because she was invited to a panel discussion at UIC about her work,
Oh, mm-hmm.
where somewhere in the air, the energy was like, oh wow, this is so amazing. Your photography is so amazing. You're capturing these amazing, and she is dope. But there was this aspect to it that was like, you're a unicorn. I didn't know that like people just live in Englewood and you're capturing daily life. It was like very National Geographic-y, and which is inherently disrespectful, right? And so it's like, you shouldn't be so amazed at seeing a Black father push their kid on a swing in the hood. Like that's, but they were. And so she, being the instigator that she is, like called up some of the homies to join her on this panel discussion and said, instead of just me, I'm going to invite 3 of my friends that are also artists. And then that was Tanya Ward, it was Pugs Adams, it was Cujo Da. And after that, something kind of snowballed very softly. And we were just talking amongst ourselves. We're like, most of us are 80s babies, we're golden era hip hop nerds, all grew up in Englewood. And we're all artists in different ways. And we all have our own artistic disciplines and or creative businesses. I have my own boutique graphic design firm, and I was doing work for like nonprofit foundations and educational behemoths, as well as like from Magnificent Mile and Millennium Park. And so I'm designing stuff for the city, but I'm from Englewood. And so folks would still give me that energy like, oh, wow, you're so unique. I didn't think you were from there, which is not a
Yeah.
compliment. And so we really formed to just positively represent. And we did that by representing ourselves. And it wasn't so much ego. It was like we were fanning over each other. Like, oh, you're
Mm-hmm.
dope. You did this mural in Ireland, or you did like you're internationally known rapper, and so we would just hype each other up. And we used our skill sets to represent ourselves. That was our origin story.
Beautiful.
Literally designed a website and just put up our own portfolios. And we called ourselves Englewood Arts Collective. And then fast forward, I won't give you the whole trajectory, but fast forward to 2020, that's when we became a little more active. Because it's 2020. There were the uprisings. There was just
Sure.
2020 was 2020. And we started mutual aid. We reached in our pockets and did like Cash App drops to other artists very organically. And a little guerrilla style, we popped up with some other local orgs and took over a vacant lot and like transformed it and had like a community activation day during the pandemic. And it was a vacant parking lot, a vacant storefront really. And we were like, no one cares about this site anyway. The owner, whoever the owner is, isn't doing anything with it. Let's just roll up and do something beautiful together.
Sure.
Uh, and from there, we snowballed and we went into this very reactive space where once you start doing stuff, you give other folks permission to imagine what's possible because you just did it. And I think in 2020, that was the first time we started curating joy as our brand. Again, it wasn't intentional. We weren't intentionally branding it at first. We were just moving through the spirit of connectivity
Yeah.
and love for ourselves and love for our people and love for our families and really wanting to put forth a truthful narrative that is more than just, gunshot, violent news story.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I love to say in 2017, all we really wanted to do was disrupt the SEO. So when you go to the West, you Google Englewood, maybe something else can pop up besides the stuff that was popping up. And I'm very, very proud to say that now, if you Google Englewood, the news stories are not all violence. And we really helped shape positive narratives that don't just exist with us. We
Mm-hmm.
are not the only unicorns.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many dope people and so many other orgs in
Yeah.
Greater Englewood that have been doing the work.
Yeah.
Um, And I think Englewood is very indicative of America and other cities and neighborhoods throughout Chicago and beyond, right? When you have a high concentration of folks that have been either historically disinvested or discounted. And so, yeah, it's 10 original co-founders that's still active, and we got a lot of dope homies that we rock with. Uh,
That's Englewood. For folks that don't know, this is Englewood, Illinois, just outside Chicago.
Or in Chicago.
And yeah, um, it doesn't have, like you alluded to, it doesn't have the greatest of
Mainstream media coverage,
yeah, yeah.
historically speaking.
And they like to badmouth places like Englewood. And the fact that you and 9 of your closest friends are coming together to showcase the beauty of it, I think does the heart good. Anyone who hears the story of you guys coming together and just creatively bringing attention to the beauty that exists within the boundaries of Englewood.
Yeah. I mean, thank you for that.
Because it's nothing for folks to just shit on where we come from. Let's be real. It's
not easy to
easy.
make it go. People still come out of town and they're like, "Oh, don't go south of here. Get off 63rd Street," you know? And I mean, my parents, all of us grew up there. My grammar school that's now closed was there, and some of my fondest memories were from my grammar school years. Like the
Yeah.
people in the community really took care of me. Uh, and there's a beauty there inherent in the humanity of the people. Uh, and many of us have moved away because of opportunities that didn't exist and like amenities. But we come back. We go to college, we do the things, and then we love in the ways that we know how to love, pour it back in the ways that we can. Um, there's beauty there. There's beauty that comes from there. There's beauty that's extracted from there. And it's not just beauty in like the physical sense. There's genius there. Literally genius. And um, there's talent and resourcefulness. And I think all of these things are reflections of a people. Well, we're just we keep activating each other and moving in the spirit of acknowledgement, I think. So yeah.
Yeah. And hanging on to that support and actually watching out for each other, whether it's creatively or human at the human level.
Yeah.
It's dope to see young folks specifically, coming
Yeah.
together. Younger folks, coming together and like, I say this on the channel all the time. The name of the game of life is when you come down, the ultimate goal is to leave it better than you found it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we keep being presented with these people that are so greedy that they don't care if things fall apart. The powers that be. Yes, ma'am.
I try not to give too much of my energy, not to bury my head in the sand, but yes, we have these like entities in control of the country and so forth. But a lot of Western civilization, a lot of Americanism is very individualistic. But I think other cultures by far are more collectivism leaning. I think there's
The
something
ones
there.
that actually make positive change in the lifespan of humans.
Yeah. I mean, so the Gemini in me wants to see both sides of every coin, right? Like it's really good to be an individual in ways that you need to know yourself. Be an individual and learn yourself and own your own dopeness and be
Yeah.
able to not be too codependent. You need to be able to stand on your own 2 feet and do your thing. However, there is something so ancestrally healing and powerful when you don't compare, but you collab. And you can go a lot. I know this is very kumbaya, but you can go so much further and farther when you align yourself with value aligned folks.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's got different skill sets. And I
Mm-hmm.
mean technical sense, but also in like the personality sense.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and we all have like gaps and aspects of shadow work we need to do and other things we need to work on.
Mm-hmm.
And so be confident enough and to acknowledge that you're dope, but also be humble enough to know that there's other folks that can do some things better than you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you could calibrate and be able to pivot and just do this, be malleable, like magic happen. Magic can really happen.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
put your
mean,
ego down. I
yeah,
think ego is terrible for teamwork.
man. I mean, yeah, yeah. Again, acknowledge your dopeness,
Right.
but no one
We
is
don't
better.
care that you have a little bit of ego, but don't let ego get in the way of the greater picture.
Yeah, everyone can shine, G. Like
Yeah.
everyone can shine. And it actually makes you go further and farther and gives you I've learned personally that you're able to give yourself more grace when you share the shine with others.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have an off day or an off month when you know that your homie got your back and they can step up and handle X, Y, and Z, you know? Um, I mean,
Or
I'm a,
how
go ahead.
how I tell all my friends, I'm not going to be rich by myself, so you might as well get on it. Come on, let's go be rich
Come
together.
on with it.
Let's
Yes.
go do cool things together. And by
Yeah.
rich, I mean that. Let's go do cool things. I don't need to be wealthy. I don't need to be Elon. It'd be cool. It'd be
Yeah.
different. I would handle that much money, that much power, that much influence completely differently, but yeah, on my way. I'm bringing you guys with me. I'm not trying to be out here by myself.
We need each other and this is someone as like an extroverted introvert. Like I'm very much someone that needs to power my battery alone. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but I get supercharged and once I'm charged up, I'm like, let's go. Let's do it
Yeah.
together.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm very blessed to know some really beautiful people and have our souls be in alignment at this time in our lives. We've been voted by a Chicago Reader poll, Chicago's best art group 5 years in a row.
Let's go.
And I'm like, oh, that's the first 2 times we got nominated. We were like, what? Okay, cool. And I say that not as like just a humble brag, but we're able to take that to other environments,
Yeah.
now to the point where we've done a few like conferences. And so we take that as a entry point into talking about Chicago and talking about Englewood to areas and cities in this nation and otherwise that maybe don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And our wins are our wins. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
And so we also, we joke, we're like a bunch of aunties and uncles now. And so we look at the other collectives that exist in the city, and there's so many dope young folks that are doing really, really, really amazing things too. Uh, and we're happy for that. Uh, because just like how there's like so many vacant lots in, in our communities, there's just as much opportunities for different versions of investment. So yeah, happy to play a part.
Yeah. I'll touch on this real quick and then we'll shift.
Okay.
That's one of the things that I wanted to do with my podcast too, was not just speaking to all these political hopefuls, but
Mm,
I also wanted to but I wanted to introduce the audience to all these dope people from Chicago, because you guys hear ICE. You guys hear Trump talking dumb stuff about how violent it is and all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, there's violence, but there's violence everywhere. Not everyone, not every place, not every city is as big and as beautiful and as chock full of talented, beautiful people as Chicago is.
Yeah. And some of those statistics, data can be skewed and
Mm-hmm.
tweaked to inform a particular narrative, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to make this just about that, but I will say when you think about like news coverage of an area like Greater Englewood, look at the actual square footage and look
Mm-hmm.
at the map and how many different wards make up the community. Uh, and then compare that to, say, Andersonville or Ukrainian Village. When you go north, you can drive 4 blocks and you're technically in a different area. But Englewood is like miles and miles and miles. So if one incident happens over here that's like miles away, the
Yeah.
news coverage might say, "Oh, in Englewood." And it's like, it's really not this concentrated. It's spread out just as much as other areas of the city. It's just not narratively, you know, considered such.
Right.
So that's just one aspect that makes me roll my eyes because I'm like, okay, I mean, I grew up there, and when I think about my childhood, now granted, we were poor, we did not have a lot of financial resources, but I have so many. My immediate thoughts of Inglewood growing up were the neighbors and the kindness of people, like just literally people looking out for you as a
Mm-hmm.
kid, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's what I think of. And I think for me in this work, that's one of my like rooted, uh, I don't know, foundational energies that propels me forward. Uh, yeah.
So you were born and raised in Englewood?
I was born in a house, in an apartment, in my auntie Kalila's apartment, and she was living in South Shore at the time. My mom could not make it to the hospital in time. So I was born in South Shore, and we moved around a little bit, but
Yeah.
from like South Side for sure. South Shore, and then technically probably Auburn Gresham for a couple years, like kindergarten. And then from like second grade, third grade, all the way through into high school, Englewood. So I was at Englewood proper, all the way until like 14. And then we went to West Englewood. I lived there. And, it's funny because so Englewood's my most formative years. My people are from there. My granddaddy had a house on Lafayette. My mom went to Kennedy King and Parker. Uh, these are the grammar schools and high schools in the area and
Mm-hmm.
college, community college. And I I went to grammar school at Yale Elementary. I think that was also Jennifer Hudson's grammar school, if I'm not mistaken.
Subtle flex.
Right. And then I went to Whitney Young High School, same as Michelle Obama. And I caught the bus from Englewood and went all the way to Whitney Young and came back. Um,
People don't realize, like in Chicago and the surrounding areas, we don't necessarily have a school bus. Like kids are taking the public
oh,
transportation to school.
yeah, I was on CTA. I was on CTA. I had to wake up really
Yeah,
early.
there was no cute yellow bus. It was a
Yeah,
green limousine and you pushed.
yep, we had the tokens, all of that. Um, yep. So, but I say, that's also like so many of us have a similar story where and this is a shameless plug because our nonprofit is Folded Map Nonprofit, but we fold the map, right, of Chicago. The folks that don't know, Chicago is built on a grid system. Our streets are very easy to navigate because it's a number system. It starts with 0 downtown and then it goes up this way south and up that way north. Um, and so there's like twins, right? 6300 South Ashland has 6300 North Ashland. But if you fold that map, the two are very disparate. And that has been an experience for many uh, kids, especially in my generation, who went maybe to a school outside of their neighborhood. You saw the different areas of investment. But I also like to say with pride too, like my mom would put us on the bus and we would go to the Chinatown Festival. We would go to whatever free event was happening anywhere in the city. We went.
Yeah.
And, I think about that because I'm like, yeah, I always felt like this whole city was mine. Even though I knew I lived in the hood and that was
Yeah.
fine, I
Yeah.
still felt like I could go anywhere, which I didn't realize until my late 20s that that actually was a superpower. Because there's folks that come to Chicago and they never travel south of
They
Stocks
don't
Park.
ever leave their neighborhood.
Yeah, they might go to McCormick Place and that's it. Or Hyde Park. Um, yeah, and I remember after college I went into the publishing industry and I was working in the design department in publishing and it was
Nice.
it was a niche
Did you always want to be a designer?
I went to college for fine art. I was
Okay.
doing pictures. I love conceptual art. I
Yeah.
love theory. I loved, Carrie
As a
James.
kid, did you draw and paint and do all the things?
I used to
Finger
cut
paints?
I love finger paint, but I wasn't really a drawer. I
Yeah.
used to cut out, which I guess now is design. I used to cut out the comics in the Sunday paper, but then I would like collage them to make new comics. So I would cut out the speech bubbles from this one, but then paste it with like a Garfield, and it was like a recap of whatever drama was going on in the crib at the time. So it was like if my little brother got on my nerves, I would like and like draw my own speech bubble. And now I look back, I was like, oh, that's design. That's like,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, I thought I was gonna be a writer at one point. It was always creative though. But I didn't think design, but I did know that I loved like making narrative, not in a direct storytelling way, but visually somehow. And I started college thinking I was going to do business because that's what I was told you're supposed to do. And then
Yeah.
after second semester, Carlos, they was like, "Oh, for homework, you're gonna read the Wall Street Journal." And I was like, "I'm done. I can't do this. I'm out."
I'm gonna
So
take art class.
no, I couldn't do it. I was like, "Nope, get me out of here." I did went straight to like drawing class. Give me some naked people and some charcoal, and I was in heaven. I was like, "Let me just do
That's it.
figure." Yes. Then I flipped again at the end because I was getting close to graduating, and I was like, I can't be broke. And this whole narrative of
Yeah.
starving artists, I allowed that fear to take root. Was like, oh man, I can't graduate with just a fine arts degree. I have to like get something technical. So that's when I switched to graphic design. And it worked out actually, because I see graphic design as the plate where I put all of my photography and sculpture or whatever on. And then I went into publishing just simply because I had an internship. I was very much I saw school as my hustle. Like people have different hustles. And I learned very early in grammar school, I was like, if you get straight A's, if you do this, it opens up avenues. Now I can unpack that more in therapy because it was all like overachiever stuff and this is your way out. You have to be perfect. But it worked for me in college. I was like, okay, I'm going to do all the internships. I'm going to be on the honor or whatever. And I got offered a job to work at like Scott Forsman, the group that made textbooks and like Penguin Publishing.
Yep. Yep.
I
Yep.
I got offered that before I graduated. So I never had to apply.
Nice.
I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to take this salary. And I did it for a few years. And then I switched to a private publishing firm. And I became an expert in childhood and youth publishing design.
Okay.
So Nickelodeon, um, Warren Buffett had like a math program for kids. So
Nice.
yeah, Crayola was one of our clients.
Wow.
So I designed like cereal box design type stuff, like
Yeah.
the kid publishing world.
Yeah.
Uh, and as warm and fuzzy as that sounds, it was very toxic. It was very toxic because I was the darkest person in the room, and that's
Yeah.
problematic.
Yeah.
So,
Hey,
I mean,
I worked at Hallmark Channel. You
mm,
would think that the place that has like Little House on the Prairie and
yeah,
Walker Texas Ranger, you would think that they would have some sort of kind soul. Nah, it was one of the most toxic places I've ever worked.
yeah.
Like,
I mean,
don't you guys believe in Jesus? Like, what the hell?
right,
Like,
right. See, again, I'm trying to stay on topic. I don't know what the topic is, but I'm trying not to go too hard. But let me just say, I learned a lot. I learned a lot. I worked with a lot of editors for a lot of years, which I am very thankful for because
yeah.
it's my nerd itch on marketing and writing. Uh, and I left there in 2017 after working for a private entity where I did learn a lot. I did,
Mm-hmm.
but it was time to go.
Yeah.
I felt like I was the lead billable hours employee, but my
Yeah.
name was on the door, you know? And
Yeah.
so I'm like, I can't keep opening and closing a business that's not mine. Like I have the keys to the door, but it's not mine.
My name is not on that door.
Yeah. And so I had started freelancing already on my own time, working with some nonprofits. And, there were some beautiful Black women that were like, Janelle, you're going to work for my nonprofit. And I was like, I don't want to work for anyone else. They're like, okay, well, we'll put you on retainer. Okay. And it gave me the
That
confidence.
works.
Yeah. And it gave me the confidence. I did the numbers and I said, well, this is the bare minimum that can help me pay my bills. And I'm just going to quit and just do it for myself. And I didn't realize that in 2017, I had not taken a break from working since I was 17. I had
Oof.
from Gallery 37. Are you familiar with Gallery 37? Okay, so we like me, Pugs, Tony, Cujo, all of us. We were like Gallery 37 kids. Which is a city of Chicago, a precursor to After School Matters, which is where high school youth created artwork in the summer. And that was my first job. Uh, yeah, and ever since then, I worked even throughout the last couple of years of high school through college. I had a job, and I was like,
That's wild.
I know. I was like, I'm burning myself out for what? And so
For
I
somebody
quit.
else.
Yeah, and filed my own LLC, J&J Creative. And then the same summer, just cosmically, EAC also formed. It was definitely a year of like manifestations. My husband, Cujo,
Yeah.
and I had a baby the next year. It's like, oh, all this stuff is happening. Um, and now, even though graphic design is my technical um skill set, the
Mm-hmm.
degree, the business still exists. Um, Today I can say the majority of my efforts are in owning the role of shepherding EAC. Um,
So you're
I have
back to that business class, the business classes that you were talking about.
a little bit, but
Yeah,
this
you
is
are.
interesting. I'm happy to have done the corporate stuff because I know
Yeah.
how to read email. So
Yeah.
again, leaning on your skill sets, right? But like using your skill sets to a good that you're really passionate about, and it feels fulfilling. Um, Community work is hard. It's not pretty. It's not pretty. It forces you to set your own boundaries for your own self-care.
Yeah.
Also, redefining everything. Because what is a traditional work day when you're doing community work? You might need to get up at 3 in the morning because you have an idea about something that you don't want to forget on a Saturday. And that Saturday afternoon, you have an event that you're trying to run. Um, but it's nice when you're not alone, and it's nice when you
Yeah.
have perspective. And I can say my years doing formal art school, working in corporate, working in a private firm, working in spaces that were educational and not really design heavy, working for myself as a small business owner, and now feeling like I'm getting back to actually feeling like an artist.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing, and I'm so thankful, and I'm able to look back and go, "Okay, I see the threads now. I see
Mm-hmm.
all that education stuff." I designed the folded map curriculum. So we have a whole curriculum that EAC, helps facilitate at times. That's part of that's an extension of Tonika's work. I'm partnering with people that I respect and that propel me, right? Because sometimes I do too much. I need somebody to say, "Okay, focus on this."
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah,
That's the team, the benefit of doing it as a team. There's a saying that says if you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go as a team or go as
yeah,
a group, whatever. And that's it. Like you could, you and I might be sharing similar brain matter because I'm that. Give me a task and I will work on that task and I'll hold my breath and I'll just keep doing it, you know? And you need someone to be like, hey, take a breath. You're fine. You could
yeah,
do that tomorrow, you know?
yeah, yeah. We give ourselves grace and we plug in. It's also it can't go without saying that each of us have our own stuff. Um, Everyone has their own. Like Pugs is still dropping albums. Joe is still out there painting murals, right? Tanya
Pugs
is
dropped an, hey, I'm going to say this again. Pugs dropped an album that was the soundtrack to my birthday 2026, damn it. That album, him and
wait.
Waffle
When's your
King
birthday?
just crushed March 21st.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Aries,
Aries. Yeah.
fire,
So,
fire.
yeah.
Mhm.
Fire. I'm that dude. I show up, and if you're doing things wrong, I'm going to tell you. And it's not even that I'm trying to be, smarter than or whatever. Like if there is a more efficient way, I will share that with you. I
You gotta
don't,
burn it. You gotta burn it down so that the right growth can come from it.
that's what I'm saying. And
It's all
sometimes you just need someone to say, this shit ain't working.
right. Mhm, mhm,
There's
mhm.
got to be a better way.
Yeah. No, like we all have our own thing, right?
Yeah.
Tanya also works for Grow Greater Englewood. Giovanna has many jobs, as well as being a mosaic and teaching artist. Rob is an MC and he's part of Moore's Beer and he has his own entrepreneurship and he has his audio production program. Um, and so I am at a place now where I still have my design firm. I take on a select group of clients, a
Boutique
smaller
clients.
boutique client, and I have allowed myself the space to focus on EAC. And I'm thankful that they trust me to let them know what the opportunities are and
Hmm.
letting people plug in where they need to. Um, and so, yeah,
And that's a very important lesson for younger creative people. Don't be afraid to have your own thing.
yeah,
Always have something to focus, especially like if you're like me and you have a touch of the ADHD and all that stuff, you can't sit your ass still. You know what I mean?
yeah.
You're always got something going. You should always have something going.
Yeah, I mean, so creative energy is a reflection of God's gifts, right? Like we are all made in a divine image and whatever, your divinity of choice
Yeah.
is. But
Translate the word God appropriately and then
yeah,
we push.
the spirit of manifestation, the
Yeah.
spirit of creativity,
Yeah.
to create is, creator energy.
Yeah.
So don't lose that. Do
Yeah.
whatever that is to you. I look at someone like Chelsea B. Amazing, dope. No one is doing, crochet art like her. And no one was even thinking about that like her. And so do that. Do whatever your weird shit is.
Hmm.
And be
Yeah.
open and flexible to either sharing those gifts directly or doing a tangent of it with someone else. Um, yeah, I think this is a good segue for me to not so shamelessly plug the EAC Arts Village Sculpture Park.
That I was, yeah. When I started learning
You
about
can just
this,
be
I got
quiet. I'll
so
take it.
excited.
You got excited?
Um, I got excited because, well, for a number of reasons. I know there's a group in Chicago called Renegades of Funk that they're looking for a spot because they want to leverage hip hop, the influence of hip hop to teach kids about hip hop and stuff like that. I know that there was another group. What was their name? I forgot right now, but all these groups. Oh, the Chicago Hip Hop Museum,
Mm.
the crew that's trying to put that together. They're looking for a spot too. And then when you shared that deck with me and I saw that you guys actually had a spot, I was like, oh, the dam broke. Here we go. We're about to make things happen now.
See, this is what when nerds unite. Watch out, man. Okay, how much time do we have?
All day.
Well, you have your editing skills cut out for you after this because we're going to talk about a lot. But I will say, uh, yes, EAC is great. We're amazing. I love us. I love all of the homies, all of the friends, all of the affiliate artists, our wide, vast network that knows us on a personal level, but also supports us organizationally. We're officially a nonprofit now by way of Folded Map nonprofit. Uh, there's Folded Map, the project, which is Tonika's IP, but Folded Map Nonprofit is the name of our nonprofit entity. Within that is Englewood Arts Collective. The nonprofit itself, depending on what grant application I'm applying for, the mission is to use public art as a civic education civic educational tool, but also art as a way to curate joy, enhance the quality of life of communities. EAC specifically, we're a creative placemaking group. We have a name. That's the name that is very it's in the ether of certain spaces. We are creative placemaking, or I like to also say creative placekeeping. Uh, we use arts and artistic engagements to transform underutilized spaces, to have robust and meaningful and respectful community engagement. We do this by way of public art. We do this by way of pop-ups. And pop-ups are important because in historically disinvested areas, sometimes it's very challenging to get permanent or semi-permanent space. The
Mm-hmm.
ownership of things, the extraction of wealth, these are long-term things that require long-term acts. And so while those long-term acts are very much needed, short-term acts also are needed as well. Uh, in EAC, as we've just discussed in depth, we're 10 people who come in as we have the capacity to. We have our own things. So we pop up when we can, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we're not operating organizationally at a level where everyone can get a salary. So we really have our own businesses, have our own stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on different funding strategies and grant opportunities or what have you, we come together to manifest value adds to either direct quality of life of the communities that we're from or reframing the narrative about where we're from by way of our partnerships. And I can say that confidently now because I'm thinking about the years of us just doing the work. For so many years, we were just coming together because this felt good,
Yeah.
right? We're going
Yeah.
to have a community
You just want to
paintball.
hang out with your friends.
Want to hang out with our friends and invite the people with us, right? Like
Yeah.
one of our first activations is the Englewood Gateway mural on 58th and Halsted. It was part of the Invest Southwest initiative in like 2020, I want to say. And that was our first grant that we ever applied for. And we got it. And we wanted to literally paint the viaduct there. Well, we knew right away we weren't just going to show up and paint the viaduct. We were like, this needs to be a celebration. We're going to take these funds, we're going to split it a little bit. And we invited other orgs. And we had a truck, and we had yoga in the yard, and we had it was on Halloween, so we had like trunk parties where the kids can come and get candy, as well as the community painting with us, right? It was a drumming circle. It was a marching band. We gave away diapers. It was it was like school supplies. And it wasn't just us. We just held space for other people to do what they do. And I designed, because I'm the graphic designer, so I designed the banner that was at the top of the viaduct. And today, that banner has become one of the visual markers for the community. Like when HBO's South Side show was filming, you know, that's that's B-roll footage, right? When they come to England.
Yeah.
They might be cracking jokes, but they'll show that banner, right?
Yeah, they will.
Yeah. And so at the time, we weren't thinking about what this could mean. But now we look back and we're like, oh, and this area has become, that corner has become a hub where Grow Greater Englewood uses it. Well, they were going to use the space anyway, but now it's very active as a positive space for their farmers markets. It's going to be one of the future entry point to the Englewood Nature Trail. I use
Yes.
that space as a platform for my fifth sculpture that I designed, and got fabricated by another Englewood-based org, Cooperation Racine, and um, GGE asked me to design the logo for their We Deserve Beautiful Spaces campaign. But then after that, I had an opportunity to put up a public art through a grant, and I was like, "Oh, let's make a I think this should be a sculpture." So it's the ways in which we just keep building on stuff.
Yeah.
We don't know what it's gonna be when we do it, but we keep calling back to expand. Um, and that's part of what the EAC Arts Village Sculpture Park will be. It's an expansion of work that we've been doing in a pop-up format
Mm-hmm.
for about 5 years now.
Yeah.
Um, we do not have brick and mortar space. There is no EAC office.
Yeah.
Um,
But there's this chunk of this block that you guys are
activating very soon.
activating. And by
Yeah.
activate, that's what she's talking about. So for folks that don't understand like the lingo, what
Yeah.
these pop-ups and these when you activate something, it's you have a collection of creatives that go in and they paint and they design and they put these sculptures down. And I saw that you guys have these beautiful flowers that are going to be put in. And
Oh, well, so so EAC exists as a group that sometimes we consult with other entities,
Mhm.
right? Sometimes we're subcontracted by other entities because we're also working artists. Many times I find myself answering emails where I'm almost like a talent placement org, where folks would reach out asking for some work, and I'm like, "Well, we're too busy, but let me hook you up with some folks that we know," so we might pitch jobs to other artists. You're talking about some flower sculptures that recently were part of, a streetscape beautification initiative for 79th Street over East.
Okay.
Uh, the Chamber of Commerce there reached out to EAC to just help them consult on some type they had a little money to do something with some planners. And so I was able to get Giovanna Jackson, one of our co-founders, to work with them and a couple of neighboring groups. I think there were some elders in a nursing home who wanted to help somehow. And so we did these workshops and they helped create these flowers over the course of a year. And that was just recently unveiled on 79th Street. And even though that technically is not the Englewood neighborhood, it is representative of how we show love to all of Chicago. Uh, Definitely South Side love because we're all family, and it helps expand our portfolio. And so the EAC Arts Village Sculpture Park are 3 privately owned, but long vacant lots, um, along the 63rd Street corridor, basically 63rd and May, very close to Racine. And we, through years of respectful and mutually beneficial partnerships with the aldermen there, uh, we're in partnership, and we have permission to activate these 3 lots semi-permanently. So basically, we got permission to do something really dope there for
Yeah.
3 to 6 years. And we're going to use this as a proof of concept study to show how when you let artists lead, how it can have positive safety and possible also economic impacts. Um, we're not building a building, but we're doing a little bit more than just showing up in this vacant lot and putting a tent up every weekend to maybe do.
Right.
So this is also new. This is new for me. It's new for us. You are talking to me while we are literally building it. So today is June 30th. Ribbon cutting day is August 2nd. So I'm glad this is coming out before then. I can use this as a promotional tool. But
Perfect.
August 2nd will be the ribbon cutting of phase one.
Yeah.
And phase one is us just showing the progress of what we've done to the site to date. Our goal in 2026 is to prep the site for sculptures, future sculptures, and definitely creative programming in 2027. It's called the EAC Arts Village Sculpture Park because the EAC Arts Village is the name of our one-day pop-up that we, for the last 5 years, have done at the Englewood Music Fest. 16th World Automatic Office produces Englewood Music Fest, and EAC has a pretty large footprint during that festival where we basically have a day party within the festival that's all about collaborative art making. We're talking live mural painting, we're talking b-boys breakdancing and singers and story time and a kids pavilion where we're like using pool noodles to create stuff, and there's a clay station, there's a skateboard deck painting station, and there's a skating rink, and it's just us being big kids.
Yeah.
That's been the EAC Arts Village. And that's to date has historically just existed during the music festival. And people have known us for that. They're like, oh, the Arts Village at the festival. Yeah, we're going to be at the village during the day before the main stage pops off at night, right? So now that we have these vacant lots, we're taking that energy and we're like, the question is, what does it look like if we had a space that was permanent, semi-permanent, permanent? We got it for a few
Sure.
years,
Yeah.
where we can bring all these years of collaborations. We just did something on 79th Street. We worked with Mag Mile Association last year. They reached out to EAC by way of their consulting group, Janell Projects, to create sculptures for Mag Mile. So we've done stuff that have been prominent tourist attractions for the city of Chicago. How can we bring this back home? So we're going to use this space as an incubator space for possible new sculptures with some of our really dope artist friends who don't know how to unveil something because there's so much red tape to get something publicly shown. But
Yeah.
we're also going to use it as a platform to house work that we've done for other folks. So it's almost like, I'm not going to say reparations, but it is a deliberate reversal of extraction.
Hmm.
We created these star sculptures that were on the Mag Mile.
Those are so beautiful.
They they were taken down because it was meant to be temporary.
Yeah.
But we have them in storage now, and guess where they're going to live?
Beautiful.
63rd Street.
Beautiful.
So, I'm in talks with other entities that we've done work for in the past to see how we can maybe temporarily bring some of the past sculptures back home. We don't have it all figured out, Carlos. So that's part of the process. We're going to build this
Yeah.
space, and then we're going to, right?
Yeah.
And see how it grows. I'm excited. Some folks on the team, Rob, Pugs, and Tonika, have been talking about art markets in 2027.
Ooh.
So like I think
Like a
about that.
farmer's market, but for artists.
Yeah, and I think about like the night markets that some Asian communities do. You know what
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Like that could be really dope, right? Like I don't know what that looks. I don't know what it's gonna look like, but I think we're gonna try it in 2017. where, I don't know, maybe put up string lights and we have artists come to sell their wares. And we have booths that are just up for like 2 days every month in like the summer months. I don't know. But there's so much opportunity to platform different creative things
Yeah.
that can
You
stimulate
could
the
do movie in the park. There's so many cool things that you
There's
could
so
do.
much. And I think what's also interesting is that we don't have to recreate anything anyone else is doing. We can come up with our own signature for it in ways that also are complementary to the other organizations on that strip. So 6th and 3rd, that corner right across the street from us, is E.G. Wood, Dion Lucas's, Beehive, which is a development firm, a local community development, uh, award-winning community developer, and architecture firm. And upstairs is a barbershop, Powell's Barbershop, and above that is Marie Wesley's consignment shop. That's just one building across the street from the park. We already talked to Marie Wesley about her doing she already does, like, a fashion show that's in the street right across from the park.
Yeah.
Maybe once we launch it, they can do, like, wine tastings in the park or whatever she
You're
wants to do
talking.
because
Yeah.
well, I'm not gonna plan it. We're developing it for the community to
Right.
activate it. But maybe the barber shop can do, like, free haircuts in the garden because we're trying to get landscaping in the vacant lot so it looks pretty, and then we'll have sculptures there. So, I'm very excited about the possibilities of what this could turn into, and also how the community can help us have ownership of this, energetically speaking. Uh, the wannabe sociologist in me is out to prove well, I don't really wanna say prove, but out to show a truth that I know exists, which is we can have nice things in our neighborhoods, and it doesn't have to be locked up all the
Right.
time.
Right.
So, it doesn't have to have security all the time. The block is hot right now. It is. So, I'm I'm curious to see how behavior shifts and holds space for us. Um,
I've been around the world. And when people that live in an area are proud of the area in which they come from, they take care of it.
yeah.
It's, I mean, you could even look at the inner city right now and see proof of that
Yeah.
just because, there's unseeable borders and there's like, you could wear these colors here and not over there kind of thing. So that stuff is happening, but that's because they're protecting where they're from. So now imagine coming from instead of that aggressive protection, like imagine being proud of where you're
Mhm.
from and you're trying to share it instead of keeping people out. It's that it's you have to have people feel a part of that thing,
Mhm.
whether it's the park, whether it's the neighborhood, whether it's the city, whatever, they have to be tapped in. Once they do, then people will never cease to amaze you at how good they truly are and
Oh,
how good they truly want to be.
this is a fact that I have been very blessed to have been front loaded with time and time and time again over the years of this work. A more recent example is just this past Saturday, we maybe like 2 days before Saturday, we got confirmation 'cause like I said, Carlos, we're building this now. So, the
Yeah.
dirt is turned over, the grass is starting to
And
grow.
all I hear is exciting, exciting, exciting. That's
It's
all I
exciting.
hear.
So, like, there's question marks too, and I have faith. I'm like, it'll work out. But,
You got this.
we didn't know how we needed some decorative plants. And, I'm applying to some more I'm doing fundraising, but the budget is tight. And we are not gardeners. But there's other orgs, in the
Mm-hmm.
community. So Grow Greater Englewood is helping us acquire some plants, some flowers, some perennials that can last without a lot of water, right? Because we know what type of maintenance issues we are to have. And so,
You get in trouble when you open up the water plug.
yeah, yeah. And yeah, we don't own the site, so we can't have a water bill. So there's all these things we're navigating. And so we got word that the plants are coming. We're going to get a donation of plants. So it's like, oh, thank you. And we're like, well, it's coming right after the holiday weekend. Okay, good. And then it was like, oh, wait, is the site ready for that? It's not. There's still broken glass and stuff like in the dirt because this has been abandoned for some time. So we did a very last minute volunteer call. And nobody likes last minute, but it was just like a little bat signal that went up and was like, yo, we need about 4 or 5 guys just to come out for a couple hours. And it wasn't hard at all. Literally, like one Instagram post and a couple of text messages. And we had a nice strong handful of dudes come out and they brought rakes and contractor bags and
Yeah.
gloves and they handpicked the broken glass out of the dirt. And what really assured me is that as this was happening, there was also another community event that I was organizing the same day because it's life.
Because you're
So
hard headed. Yeah.
I'm driving back and forth. I got to check in on the block party. I got to check in on the volunteers, and there were guys walking down the street, and they would just lean over the gate, and they was like, "What y'all doing over here? What's going on over here? You building a garden? What's this?" And we would just talk to them like, "Well, this is what's
You
happening."
pretty flower having that.
Right, right, right. What y'all doing over here? Y'all making some art. I was like, yeah, we are. And I'm like, you want help? Yeah. And like
Hell yeah.
Giovanna recruited like 3 guys from the gas station across the street.
Hell yeah.
And they were busy, if you know what I mean. They were working, if you know what I
Yeah.
mean.
Yeah.
And so he was like, why don't you come over here and do something good real quick and pick up this stuff? And they
Yeah.
hopped the fence and picked up some trash.
Hell yeah.
And then they were like, I'm gonna bring my daughter. When is it opening? I'm gonna bring my daughter by. Like they started planning to
Yeah.
come to the opening. That is what community is. And that's not shocking to me.
Yeah.
I know this is how it is. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So it's affirming. These moments are affirming. And I'm very excited to see what happens once we launch. Um, and we're going to just grow and learn from this and also hopefully show others what's possible when a community is allowed to design and invest for themselves. Um, I have to say, and this is not a humble brag, but there's no design firm, there's no like big, what do you call it? Urban planning, landscape design firm doing this. This is me with some really, really dope, many pro bono, amazing other creatives. There is and Black and Brown unity, which also is the demographic of Englewood. Okay. So I'm talking about an architecture firm and an architect that's based out of Argentina, but she worked with, they were part of the Chicago Architecture Biennial. And so between them and Resolver Studio, which Rogelio owns property in Englewood, he giving just sweat equity, coming out, measuring tape, talking about stuff that is not my wheelhouse, right? And I'm just checking boxes. I was like, is this ADA compliant? Yes. Okay, cool. Like they're talking about like easements and leveling, and we have designed together a very modern, like labyrinth, like the site map plan that feels like modern contemporary art for the groundscape. And it just won a Designing a Better Chicago award.
Oh, let's go.
Let's go. One of 3 entities for the whole city that just won a Designing a Better Chicago award. And it was featured at NeoCon in the Merchandise Mart. Hasn't even launched yet, and we're already getting some recognition. So as a nerdy designer, I was like, look at the power of design, and isn't that good? And I was like, yes, this is very affirming. Uh, So, we're all nerding out in our own ways. Like, I will say we're going to start promoting our partners really soon. But even though it's called the Sculpture Park, we have 2 storage containers there. Hector Gonzalez, who was a dope fabricator in his own right. I said I wanted to put a mural up. He installed these like panels on top in the front of the storage container. So we have one side that's smooth for an 80-foot mural. The mural is about to
Nice.
pop off. They're about to pop off. We got some really cool friends. We're going to put a mural on the front and the back. We have some really nice allies. And I use the word ally intentionally because, again, folding the map. We have a muralist that we're going to announce very soon, whose work primarily is on the north side. But this person does like 30, 40-foot murals, like big, like Wynwood, Miami style, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I am, with the help of the alderman, currently working our persuasive magic on the liquor store owner who owns the building behind the park,
Yeah.
uh, because this building is a big wall. I'm like, man, we could do something really dope with that wall. And we don't own it. All I can offer you is good press. So let's go,
And
So
a pretty painting.
man, a dope painting. Um, so it's so exciting, and it really is the power of relationships. You gotta be a decent
Yeah.
human. You can't
Yeah.
perform like a decent human being. You gotta move with integrity
Yeah.
and give other people like space to shine. And folks will amaze you. Like
Every
I'm not
time.
I'm not surprised, but I'm amazed. Like I know everybody's dope, but it's like I just get so inspired by the genius that exists all around us. Yeah.
Yeah, don't let anybody talk you away from that mentality.
Yeah.
Like there's things on TV and things on YouTube and things on Instagram that are going to try to change your mind that the inner city can't be beautiful.
Mhm.
You yeah, get out of here.
I mean, culture comes from the areas that have been negatively portrayed though, right? Like the culture bearers and the culture producers and the cool makers are the ones who have to be the most innovative
Yeah.
and resilient.
It's that struggle. Yeah, that struggle makes the story makes the gumbo tastier,
Mhm.
spicier. It's
Yeah.
everything. My argument is uh it doesn't have to be this hard,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Um uh I have ideas for the benefit of I'm from the north side
Mhm.
and I have all my ideas la la la. My ideas aren't necessarily stuck to the north side.
Mhm.
But I know that's where I come from. That's what I know. That's where I struggled. That's where I did all the things.
Mhm.
Um, and I know that the kids that are going to that same high school that are in that same neighborhood, they're probably struggling with the same challenges that I did, and they didn't get as lucky as I did to escape and do all the things.
Yeah. I mean, the human experience is universal in many ways, right?
Yeah,
Everyone has a story. Everyone's story is unique, but there are broad stroke themes that reign supreme.
yeah.
And so I think
People are good. People are good is one of those broad strokes.
I think so.
Given the opportunity, give, for example, given the opportunity, those two guys that you said were working that jumped over the fence,
Mhm.
given the opportunity, to me, those are really good salespeople.
Yeah. Yeah.
Given the opportunity, they'd be selling
Yeah.
something different.
Yeah. They're
They'd be
charismatic.
running a, they'd be running a, yeah,
Yeah.
they'd be running a different kind of store. They'd be
Mhm.
doing all kinds of beneficial things. But uh, when you don't invest properly into pieces of society, you can't be surprised that people make the decision. Like, those dudes have to feed their kids.
Well, here's the thing. I am less interested in proving to any entity, ethos, or partisan whatever about the truthful narratives of humanity that I know, the
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
people
Mm-hmm.
that are reflections of my family, right? Um, what fuels me is staying in the lanes of exciting manifestation. Um,
And folks that are in the inner city, it's possible. It's not, they're going to make it seem difficult to make change. They're going to make it seem difficult to make a building look prettier, to make this 3 lot
you know,
space look gorgeous. They're going to
yeah,
try to say it's a challenge. And it is a little bit, but it's easier than you think.
I hear you, and I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you. I'm gonna agree with the majority of that. I'm gonna counter that a little bit or balance that a little bit with it is challenging, but it's not impossible. Um, it is hard work in the sense that bureaucratic structures exist, but you can navigate that by having bureaucratic partnerships that exist on a human level. Um, budgets are tight. We do not have large, huge sums of investments,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but we have applied to some grants and we have gotten awarded some grants. We're stretching those grant dollars to cover so much of what we're trying to do. But we're also working on some fundraising campaigns. And, I've got multiple budgets. I've got the bare bones budget. I've got the pro bono, homie, hookup. I hate begging. I'm going to pay you all something stipend. I know it's not your worth, but let me feed you and give you something.
Yeah.
But and then I've got the dream budget. If you really respected us and put some respect on our name and our people, this is the amount that this is worth. And then I take that budget and I'm sending it to whoever wants to hear that has the pockets to see what they can do. So I'm kind of toggling between all of this money talk, which I personally hate because I don't want to talk about money ever, but that's just me and my issues. But um, within all of that, though, we're still going to do the work. We're still going to make this happen somehow. So August 2nd will be the ribbon cutting, and we might have the gate done. I don't know. The path will be done, right? We're going to have the mural done. Will all the murals be done? I don't know. But you know what? We've got some programming planned. I got a programming meeting at 2:30 today. We got an amazing singer coming. Um, and we've got this really great partner that's already confirmed that's going to bring some big 9-foot drum sculptures, African drum sculptures, to the
That's
city
cool.
of Chicago. And the drum, I think it's like 30 plus sculptures
Wow.
coming to the city. It's a rotating exhibit about the stories of us, the stories of our people, our culture. And this is a very important year for America, right? 250th birthday and all of that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but I think it is going to be in Detroit and then it's coming to Chicago. Well, when it
Cool.
comes to Chicago, these 30 sculptures will be dispersed in different areas. I think Douglas Park is one area. I think they're in discussions about Millennium Park as another area.
Cool.
And who is the South Side location?
Let's go.
Right here at Englewood. You know what
Let's
I'm saying?
go.
Baby, we gonna do it. We gonna do what we do, and
We
it's
on
gonna
the phone, baby.
so, like, I think about the wins, and that will help me. That grounds us on things that come up, like the fact that the weeds are coming up through the grass because, the lot's been abandoned for like, I don't know how many years, and
Yeah.
the
Roundup
weeds,
is illegal. Weeds are fine.
we'll figure it out. It's a good euphemism. I was tripping about the weeds like last week, and I was like, no, this is a social justice, like, oh, this is a parody right here. This is like indicative of, we put all this work and turn it over the grass, and like a week later, the weeds come back, and I'm like, that's just, the weeds are as deep as our roots, and we gonna be okay. I was over here just talking to myself, like, we gonna be
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Uh, and
One thing
that's
that I've noticed about you is it doesn't matter what we talk about, you will take it and turn it to the sunlight. It don't matter.
like good toxic positivity. Is that what you said?
Yeah, but it's not even toxic. It's I love it. I love that because it's easy to slide into the shadows and to just feel despair and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
like literally everything you're saying is yes, things are tough, but keep your feet moving. You'll get there.
Yes, it's good to be a little delusional. You got to be.
Yeah. I always
Yes.
say that you have to be dumb enough to succeed.
Yes, you got to be a little crazy. So, I like that. Dumb enough to succeed.
Yeah.
I lean into that.
Because you can sit there and overthink and overthink. You can look at a pile of clay and be, oh, I hope this pile of clay turns into the, whatever wonderful sculpture that, and you just sit there and you overthink it and you never get to the clay, and then the clay dries
Yeah.
out and now it's all ruined.
Okay. Yeah. Now you
Instead
got
of just getting in there and getting to work.
Yeah. 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 I mean,
We got weeds. Okay. Everybody else got weeds too.
I know. We got weeds, but we also have a pathway that didn't exist.
Oh yeah, we
So
got a pathway through the weeds
there
to
you go.
show you.
There you go. Come on.
Let's
Spoken word.
go.
We're going to get some weed dispensary people out here to talk about the weed and the weed. I don't know. We're going to brand this shit.
You better
Actually,
be careful. Now you're talking my language.
that actually is a good program. We could have some weed. Yeah, we can get Big Mensa out here to talk. Okay, get some 93 Boys partnership.
Hey, all you have to do is plant an orange tree. He'll come running.
Oh, we could do a pull up the weeds and patronize some weed day or something.
Yeah, hey, this is the mashup, right? It's kind of like Vic Mensa, his orange tree. But it's everyone who's around and everyone who shows up to the grand opening of the spot. You get to pick a weed and then you look in the camera and you just share whatever message you have to share.
Okay, that's better than the drug version. I like that.
I mean, well, yeah, that's for the park. And then after the park, once we close the park down, then we go do the other kind.
What is this podcast right now?
Hot mess.
It's good though. It's good. No, I mean, yes. To put a bow on this, you have to be deliberately delusional in order to propel yourself forward.
Yeah. This is the
And
part when people say, I just don't hear the word no. This is it.
yeah, there are no no's. It's just not right now.
Just not right now. Or I'm not ready, or it's not ready, or something.
It's never I'm not ready. It's this isn't for me.
Yeah.
And that's okay. It's interesting you mentioned seeing the bright side. I think about how a lot of art and artists, we also dance with depression so easily, right? Because we feel you have to be tapped into your whatever that is. It's on the surface in order to create. And so for me, like curating joy is like a lifeline of, I have to my life has to be fulfilling in many ways. I'm a mom, that is fulfilling in many ways, but it is not the end all be all of my being. And so many of us have so many aspects of ourselves. And so however you can use creativity to cultivate healthfulness in you ends up also reverberating out for others. So like my artistic practice is so much of a self-care practice, even though it might not look like self-care because I'm like up at 5 a.m. and then I'm still up at 2 a.m. I'll try to balance it out on the back end. I'll take a nap in the middle of the day, but the big picture of it all is that it is in service to value-aligned, mission-driven work, and very thankful for all the people that support us and continue to support us. It's not all sunshine and rainbows, and there's many people that keep it very real all the time, and that is valid as well. So we need the joy makers and the joy bringers as much as we do the accountability holders and authenticity, checkers. Uh, yeah, donate today. He's like, "I'm gonna send you my QR code for EAC, and then you put it up on the screen."
Yeah, we're gonna put a link to all that stuff in the description of this video because you guys need support. It just I talk to a lot of different people from a lot of different places around uh the country.
Mhm.
And I might be biased, but when it comes to like community organization, community creativity, pushing the people that come from your community, I don't think anybody does it like Chicago. I mean, you have to, well, let me say it like this. You have to work to
Mm.
impress people from Chicago. But once you're there, you can basically, you're good. They're not just going to give it to you.
This is true. This is
But
true.
but like the community coming together, I just there's something about folks from Chicago that when they come together, like that's it. They're together
I've
and they
heard,
make things happen.
I've personally learned that I have to go away sometimes to be reminded of, like, I love my city.
Mm-hmm.
I love it down, even with all its ills. I'll talk about all the wrong, the
Mm-hmm.
segregation and the disparities. Um, but then sometimes I go away to even just hear and see how other folks are amazed by things that we just take for granted. And part of what you just said is one of those things we take for granted, I think, or at least I do, which is the ease by which it is to come together, what that word community can look like. Uh, One of my favorite phrases that comes up a lot is, community is intersectional. It's not a one blanket term that means one thing. It can mean geography, a neighborhood, but it can also mean like an affinity group, right? It could be LGBTQIA, LGBTQIA moms, or, artists, um, it's intersectional. And it's not just a Venn diagram. It could be a bunch of circles overlapping. And while that might sound crazy and messy, it's also very empowering because that, to me, that means you can build community anywhere, especially in this city.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's not, I think very often, especially in the conversations that we have, probably because of the org that I'm in, it tends to lean on the geography. It's like what neighborhood, South Side, which is a fine starting point. But artists, which is one of EAC's superpower, is that artists really don't have boundaries. Or we might give ourselves a boundary and then we'll blur that boundary or pivot like a year later. Cause
Challenge it.
yeah, it's like, "Oh, I
Yeah.
did that. Now I'm in my blues season," or whatever.
Sure, sure, sure.
And so I didn't realize in the beginning how so much of what we did came easy to us because we're used to partnering with our friends from Alt Guild to Uptown to whatever because we didn't really hold ourselves to geographic boundaries. We rep ourselves. It's like, "Oh, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we grew up in Englewood, and we're proud of that." But we got homies from all over, and it was never a thing. It wasn't ever gatekeeping. Uh, and I think that's given so many other folks license to collaborate in ways that don't feel, I hope, threatening or, like you don't belong, like, you can define belonging by way of a human connection. So that also is very grounding for us, for
Yeah.
sure.
And to give even more context against the things that people are seeing about Chicago on the news and stuff, how many events have you had where there was a negative police interaction? Zero. You
Not
see
even
what I'm saying?
police or any other interaction. I think the most beef
If anything, they're there getting down with you guys.
oh, yeah. Yeah. I think the biggest beef we ever had were like two toddlers that were fighting over a hula hoop or something. Like,
Not
it's,
for anything, but that is a hula hoop.
I know.
Those are kind of fun.
They were serious. We had to go get some more out of storage, but like, no,
Yeah.
yeah, no, no.
That's my point. And especially it made my heart so happy when you pointed out the fact that it's Black and brown community. Cause there's some folks out here talking some wild stuff.
Let me not, let's
Go
see.
ahead, turn it to the light like I said you would.
Well, no, I wanted to hold space to acknowledge nuance. I'm not going to go into the nuance, but I will say some of those criticisms are not disconnected from rooted real issues.
I
But
agree.
too often, the direction of ire is pointed at the wrong group.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like we need to look at systems. We need to look at purveyors of and holders of wealth, while still acknowledging that there have been some situations where resources were not dispersed equally. It may sow division. And anti-Blackness is a global phenomenon. So every group, to some capacity, worldwide, right? Just like how this whole world is built on patriarchy and racism, anti-Blackness is right there. And so I'm not going to sit here and say that there have been some instances where it wasn't all love and sunshine. However, people are people, humans are humans, pain is pain, injustice is injustice, and
And
disinvest.
understandings are going to happen. Misunderstandings are going to happen.
Right. But that wasn't necessarily a misspeak, because misunderstandings will happen, but we need to understand that, again, kumbaya, kumbaya. We can go so much further together. And on a person-to-person level, it is all love. Like, it's not even a thing. It's not even a hurdle to get over. It's like we're just aligning to make some dope shit. And it's like, oh, and by
Period.
the way, your skin color a little bit different than mine. But it's like, it's either abuela or is grandma. It's the same energy coming to you.
Same energy. Again, it's the same person or the same being, different words. But
Yeah.
it's all the same.
Yeah. And Englewood is still majority Black, historically majority Black, but the demographics are shifting, and this was not even intentional. I'm just looking at who's helping and how things are manifesting for the sculpture park. And it is feeling like a natural representation of something taking root, which is very interesting, especially with the way this country has been attacked and families hurt directly and traumatically. And so it's not lost on me that what we're doing is not necessarily a Band-Aid for all the ills. Art alone is not going to save anybody, but art is absolutely essential to saving everybody. So I'm very, very happy to play a small part in cultivating this very essential asset. Yeah.
I love it. I think what you and everyone else at the Englewood Arts Collective, like you guys are trendsetters. You guys are putting in the work necessary. So when people say put your money where your mouth is, okay. Like, and you guys are doing that. And it's inspiring to see. I was joking around with you before we hit record. And I said, boy, I need more friends like you got. But it's inspiring to see friends not just get along, but like thriving together and actually changing the community in such a positive way. You guys, I grew up in Chicago in the 70s when downtown was nothing but train tracks and trash. And to see it turn into a place where people are shooting movies.
Mm-hmm.
And then these small collectives are coming out and just pulling the beauty out of every nook and cranny. And people need to realize when we are talking about Chicago and the beauty of Chicago, and I tell you, get out from downtown, get into the neighborhoods. This is what I'm talking about.
Thank you for that. I acknowledge we might be trendsetters, but we're not unicorns. We are stepping in the footprints of the Afro-Cobra movement, which was a group of Black artists that came together in the 60s and 70s to form, in Chicago, a Black aesthetic. Now, the way we're working is different. We're definitely more in community and activations, but it's, they walked so we could maybe, run a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But also, we're not singular. There's so many other nonprofits and so many young people that are figuring it out for themselves too, that are coming together and just doing a lot of dope stuff creatively. And that gives us room to focus on our sliver because there's so much you can do. There's so much to be done. And sometimes it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
It can be a little what's the word? I don't know. Dismantling or the swaying, I don't know. But like you have to kind of pep talk yourself because you might think, well, what is this one mural really gonna do? Or I'm putting all this effort into just fixing this one patch of grass. And it's like, no, let me focus on my one patch. And I know that some other folks got it in whatever they're doing. Like we don't have to do the food exchange, or we don't have to do the resident group, or we don't have to do I don't even know, but there's so many other entities that are doing so much, and that makes us very resolute in playing our part. Uh, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
it's
yeah,
an important part. I'm
yeah.
telling you.
And I will say, we're friends, but friends don't always all get along all the time. Sometimes people might get on each other's nerves, and you need a breather, and that's cool too.
That's with everybody. You mean
Yeah.
to tell me you're betting 1,000 with your husband? You guys don't ever fight?
Well, Joe is also part of EAC, so we're very
Yeah.
a lot of other TED Talk right there. Um, and I will just leave that there and say that I'm also very thankful that we're all really grown. Like,
Yeah.
we have life experience
Yeah.
that lets us know enough about ourselves individually. It's like, you know what? I'm feeling cranky today. I'm gonna lean back,
Mm-hmm.
or I need to talk to this person. I'm going to exercise my communication skills because I've had other issues in my 20s with a former friend, and I don't want that to happen. So, like, I'm very thankful that we have that to fall back on. Um, and it's helpful that we're all so busy. So it's easy to thrive when this isn't your only pot. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
grasping at straws here, trying to,
Yeah.
like, we're crabs in a barrel because
Yeah.
there's so much abundance. And I'm going to end with this because I like that word, that people tend to think about historically Black communities, or the quote unquote historically disinvested areas, as places of lack. because you see all the vacant lots and you see all the ramifications of redlining and unjust systemic practices. Um, but it's also, you can't have dark without light. So the inverse is just as true, which is that there is an abundance of genius, of
Hmm.
talent, love, of the community in whatever ways you want to define community, of opportunity and possibility. Um, just like how we have an abundance within us to do great things, we just got to
Hmm.
make sure we take care of our basic needs and let go of that ego. And,
Yeah.
you can do a lot. And so there's just abundant possibility. And I'm happy to be a co-steward of some of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Donate today.
Yeah, because that would make things a little more efficient. And again, something that happens in Chicago that I think if you're not from Chicago, I don't think it clicks all the way. Like if you have a crew
Okay.
and you have a project that you guys are going to be working on, but nobody has money, that doesn't necessarily stop the show from happening. It just means you got to grind a little bit and you
Yeah.
figure it out.
Yeah, we figure it out. We're transparent. It's like, here's what this grant is for. Here's what they offered us. Here's how it's going to be spent. Here's the stipends we can give each other. Here's the favors we're calling in. But here's the opportunities that it could present for you to maybe get another job somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I mean, that's literally how it goes.
Well, and messing with you guys, everybody who's been messing with you guys, that portfolio is nice and heavy now.
Hope so. I mean, we just nerd out with each other. We don't even think about, well, yeah, we don't really think about the portfolio or clout, but then to look back, whenever I have to apply for something, I have to put
Yeah.
together my decks because
Yeah.
I'm usually the one that's putting together the pitches. I get reminded often. I'm like, oh yeah, we did do that. That was dope. It's like, huh, we should do a throwback Thursday and remind people we did that. Because yeah,
Take a picture, put it on Instagram, quick.
something we forget it. But we did like man, it was like 2024, 5, 6. I think it was 24. We were contracted by DCase to project manage some murals that they wanted up. We were like one of 3 entities to project manage some murals. I think they were trying to like help beautify the city real quick before the DNC. And we couldn't keep the bag. We got paid a stipend as the consultants, but we couldn't pay ourselves to do the murals. We had to contract other artists, which was fine. And I was more than happy to pay real checks, right? Because we were the ones that got to do the budget. Like they just gave us the big amount and said, break it up however you need to just get this done. So I was more than happy to finally like compensate muralists what I think they're worth. And it's like, here's 25K to do this, because I think you deserve this. Um, and it came out amazing. And we went
Oh yeah.
above and beyond and pulled in a Black woman-owned tech company to do like an augmented reality aspect to them. So that when you hold up your phone, the murals move a little bit. Kept it
Who?
down. Yeah. And DKs did not ask for that. But you gave us a budget. I was like, oh, we're going to chop it up this way and we're going to hire this, and put her on. And the 2 murals, one of them is in the West Loop. It's about the one in the West Loop is about Frankie Knuckles. It's on like Madison, not far from Racine. Um, and Kayla and Static did that one. And then the other mural is at the Bodak Library, which is over east. It's like southeast, damn near Indiana. And Jasmina and Damon Reed did that. And both of them, you hold your phone up, there's like a whole like little thing that happens. And I think about that as a great example of if you just give us the opportunity, and let us pop off, it just makes everything better. Just let artists nerd out and give us proper funding. Um, and it benefits all. It's a good look for
Yeah.
DJs, it's a good look for the artists, and the community. Somebody just emailed us the other day about the Bodak Library one, and they were like, "How did you get this done? And we would like to, get the engineers' information." We were more than happy to share some resources too. And so this all helps not just the economy, but like the infrastructure, the system, you know, um, in place. So
And
yeah,
people's feelings towards that area.
yeah. The Bodak one is in a predominantly like Latin area, and so I believe we recorded voiceovers of some of the community members speaking
Ooh, nice.
in like Spanish and English, and so they were talking, and like if you play it and hold the phone up, you can hear them speaking as the mural starts moving a little bit. So yeah, and at the time it's like this is a really fun assignment, and then you think about it, and it's like, oh, this really it's kind of nice. Mhm.
And again, it's cool because you're leveraging relationships with technology companies, with
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff.
And it's important for bureaucratic entities to respect and invest in community organizations, right? Like, it's not lost on me that it's because the city went to us as um, the consultants. So it's helpful. Uh, I think we got to wrap up.
Okay.
I
Go ahead
mean,
and go ahead and take a couple minutes to give everyone your sales pitch for EAC and obviously where they can find you online so they can donate.
ooh, okay. Hey y'all, Janell Nelson here, director of Englewood Arts Collective. And I'm so happy to, number one, welcome you to the unveiling of one of our newest initiatives, the EAC Arts Village Sculpture Park, launching August 2nd, Sunday, August 2nd at noon. That's the ribbon cutting on 63rd and May in the heart of Englewood. We are actively in need of volunteers and funding. Very easy to find us. It's Englewood Arts Collective on Instagram, EnglewoodArtsCollective.org online. And if you want to support, EnglewoodArtsCollective.org/support.
501c3 tax deductible, baby.
Absolutely tax deductible. Come on, man. Make your life easier and make ours a little bit better. Um, and thank you. That's all I got to say.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for taking time to come and hang out and tell us all about the wonderful things that are happening in Englewood.
Yes.
It makes the heart feel good when it's a group of friends that hung out and then they started doing things and then they started flying each other's kites. Look at that. Yeah, baby.
That's that love. Mwah.
Thanks again, and thank you, and shout out to all 10 of you guys that are a part of this wonderful collective. Shout out to it.
Onika, Pugs, Cujo, Demetrius, Rob Smooth, Glenn Willoughby, Giovanna Jackson, Just Flo, Tanya Ward, Janelle Nelson.
Boom. Shout out to all 10 of you guys. Thank you so much for making it easy for me to be able to brag about where the hell I come from.
All right. Okay. Come on.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Back on it.
I'm a professional shit talker. If you give me something good, I'd be like, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go tell the world.
You know what Bill says? Everything dope comes from Chicago.
I'm just saying. The Pope, the coolest Pope ever from there. Coolest president from there.
All the food, the full spectrum. That's okay. I know we got to go. real talk. You can cut this from the interview, but you cannot go anywhere else in the world and eat anything like you can here. We have
You better tell them. You think we got high cholesterol on accident?
Well, let me go exercise and get ready for my next meeting. And
yes, ma'am. Again,
hit me up anytime. All right. Email me.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll talk to you soon. And with that, everybody, we're out.
Coconut justice.